Hello and welcome to Lunchtime Politics. First, the highlights. Election petition tribunals open in Minna, the Niger state capital, and the nation's capital. The National Human Rights Commission, NHRC, calls for prosecution of electoral offenders in the 2023 general elections. Plus, first batch of Nigerians fleeing Sudan finally arrived the nation's capital after over a week of assurances by the federal government. Thank you for joining us, and we begin this lunch hour in the courtrooms. The chairman of the Election Petition Tribunal for Niger State, Honorable Justice Angela Ataluka, has charged members of the bar to cooperate with the bench to strengthen the framework of democracy in Nigeria. Justice Ataluka, who was speaking in her opening remarks at the inaugural session of the Election Tribunal in Minna, the Niger state capital, notes that the tribunal is committed to justice for all parties and warns that it will not accept any form of gratification from any interested individual or party. According to the head of the Secretariat, Usman Jankoli, the registry has so far received 31 petitions across the state for senatorial, House of Representatives and State Houses of Assembly elections. He said the Senate has 4 petitions, the House of Reps has 8 petitions and 19 petitions for the State Houses of Assembly, adding that the registry has been put on notice for additional 3 petitions of the State House of Assembly rerun election that was held on the 15th of April 2023.
Your cooperation with the bench is highly needed to help in the building and strengthening of the framework of the democracy of our country, Nigeria. The Nigerian bar is like an Iroko tree with several branches representing honorable judges and learned gentlemen at the bar. Thus, we should maintain a cordial coalition to achieve a common goal. We therefore hold this vibrant bar at a very high esteem and expect you to prosecute your cases with deep respect and deference to the bench. We appeal to every stakeholder for cooperation and commitment to enable us achieve the aims of justice. However, do not be deceived by anybody. This is very important. Do not be deceived by anybody. These tribunals, 2 tribunals, have come to do nothing but justice without fear of favor. In other words, the tribunal cannot be compromised. On no account should anybody, including staff, relatives, friends, etc., be deceived or be under the pretext that these tribunals would be open to gratification or compromise. Never.
Meanwhile, the Presidential Election Petitions Tribunal has fixed Monday, May 8, for the hearing of the petitions challenging the declaration of President-elect Bola Tinubu. Monday's hearing is a pre-hearing session to clarify if there are any applications to pave the way for the release of the timetable for the hearing of the substantive matters. Meanwhile, the tribunal stopped receiving submissions from the petitioners on the 23rd of April. The chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, Mahmood Yakubu, had on March 1st declared Senator Bola Tinubu of the All Progressives Congress the president-elect on the grounds that he pulled 8.8 million votes to defeat Mr. Atiku Abubakar of the PDP, who scored 6.9 million votes, and Mr. Peter Obi of the Labour Party, who amassed 6.1 million votes. While disputing the results, Mr. Atiku and Mr. Obi filed separate petitions seeking orders to annul the election or declare them the winners of the polls. Away from the courts, the national chairman of the ruling All Progressives Congress, APC, Senator Abdullahi Adamu, says the party is embarking on persuasive means of reaching some level of consensus on the next leadership of the 10th National Assembly. Speaking in Abuja shortly after a meeting of the APC's National Working Committee, Senator Adamu explains that the party will consult widely, especially with the president-elect, before a decision will be reached on zoning of the National Assembly leadership. Senator Adamu, who declined questions on the outcome of the meeting, which lasted over 4 hours, adds that the party remains united.
4 hours celebration, we are more united than we've ever been. It is not my job as chairman to tell you the outcome of the meeting. We have a national public secretary. He will tell you there's still something going on, meeting going on, that will make the report is going to give total. When we do the zoning meeting, and we don't just go alone as the party, the zoning is to take along the person who has the mandate of this country. President-elect, Distinguished Senator Ahmed Bola Tinubu, we have to take him along. He traveled after the elections, and he came back only last week. And we must carry him along. And we cannot stop those who are ambitious or zonal interests or even individual interests, institutional interests. We cannot deny them. And for as long as that is there, we have to find a way, persuasive manner of getting some level of consensus. And that's what we are working on. It's not a one-day affair.
Well, after days of distressing experiences, 270 Nigerian students have been evacuated from the Aswan airport in Egypt. They landed earlier today at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja. The Minister for Humanitarian Affairs and Disaster Management, Sadiya Farouk, the CEO of NIDCOM, Abike Dabiri-Erewa, the Director General of the National Emergency Management Agency, Ahmed Mustafa, were all on ground to receive them. Mrs. Farouk says the returnees will be given 100,000 naira each to enable them settle in, while the Director General of NEMA says 4 aircraft are expected tomorrow and they will convey around 400 persons as Asman Air has joined Air Peace in evacuation efforts. Meanwhile, the parents of some of the students who are not in this batch but are at the airport have laid their complaints to the CEO of NIDCOM, anxious for the arrival of their children.
Are you ready for her for life? Madam.
That is great news. But to all the stories, the Nigerian Labour Congress, NLC, in Imo State says the directives of the national leadership of the NLC, led by Joe Ajero, that all affiliates of NLC and TUC in Imo State withdraw their services and embark on an indefinite strike will not hold, as no worker in Imo State will participate in the strike action. Addressing newsmen in Owerri, the state capital, the chairman of the Imo State Joint Negotiating Council, Mr. Basu Iwu, speaking on behalf of the NLC, TUC and other affiliate unions, says Imo workers have not seen any need to embark on strike action following the harmonious relationship between workers and the Imo State government. He maintains that the Imo State government, has remained committed to the welfare of workers in the state, and salaries, pensions and other entitlements are paid as at when due. He also debunks all the allegations peddled by the national leadership of the NLC against the state government, especially on the alleged attack on workers in the state during the May Day celebration.
Areas. In fact, the governor has directed that the few workers who deliberately refuse to participate in the verification exercises be paid their salaries. What the NLC should have done was to fix a date to conduct a fresh election. Instead, the NLC president insisted that he must force Imo workers to accept his brother as schoolmates. as the NLC chairman. IMO workers are yet to come in terms with the NLC president. You will agree with us. Not only workers will resist your proposed strike in IMO, but the entire IMO lines. We therefore call on our revered CWC members to think twice and never allow themselves to be deceived, and there is no need for any strike action in IMO.
And to electoral matters, the National Human Rights Commission has urged the appropriate authorities to prosecute perpetrators of electoral violence during the 2023 general elections. While speaking during the monthly review forum on human rights and the 2023 elections, the Executive Secretary of the Commission, Mr. Tony Ojukwu, says multiple human rights violations took place in the month of April that must be investigated, prosecuted, and the perpetrators brought to book. He cited the announcement of election results by now suspended and arrested Rek Hudu Ari in Adamawa State, the assault on two national commissioners of INEC and a DSS operative in Adamawa, the clash by APC and PDP supporters in River State, and some other infractions in Kano State. It says cases must be prosecuted by the new administration. He also urged journalists to be courageous and carry out their functions within the ambit of the law, making a case for journalists who were attacked in the line of duty to get justice. Well, we'll be talking more about the National Human Rights Commission and their calling on the prosecution of electoral offenders very shortly. But let's go back to one of our earlier stories talking about the zoning of the National Leadership Assembly. And joining me to talk more about that is the House of Representatives member, Mr. Dachong Bagos. He is a member of the Assembly, the 9th re-elected 10th National Assembly. He joins me from Abuja studios. Thank you and welcome to the program.
Yeah, thank you. Good afternoon, Nigerians.
All right, welcome, welcome. We were waiting for you. Firstly, what's your take on the arguments for and against zoning for the President of Senate and the Speakership?
Yeah, well, now from the minority caucus, from the PDP and minority caucus, we don't have any argument. All we want is credibility. What we are looking for is understanding the fact that as members of the 10th National Assembly, we want presiding officers that are experienced. We have presiding officers that are intelligent and understand the proceedings of the National Assembly. And that's why when after all the supplementary elections, we looked at our numbers, we have 183 members from different political parties, the PDP, the Labour Party, and others political parties. We all agreed that if we are having the majority of from the opposition, we should be able to produce the presiding officers, not necessarily the issue of zoning. So we are not talking about zoning here. We are talking about credibility. We are talking about who will be able to look at how the 10th National Assembly will look into. So we, the greater majority of the opposition, we have decided that we are going to contest for the presiding officers of the National Assembly. From our second extraordinary session we had day before yesterday. You see our press statement, it categorically spelled out that, look, we are going all the way out to contest for the position of the speakership, to contest for the position of the deputy speakership. So it's now left for the entire 360 members to see among us all the credibility of members and to see that, look, experience, it's very important to be able to know that this is the time that we need to give Nigerians that true sense of democracy.
So for the House of Representatives, the opposition parties comprise the PDP, the NNPP, SDP, LP, ADC, and others. When you add all of that, they wrap up to 180, while the APC has about 178. We still have about 2 seats pending, Akwa Ibom, and that's in Ondo as well.
No, we have 183 counting, 183 at the moment. Like I always say, that we don't even know what the court will do at the end of the day, because a lot of positions are still being contested in various tribunals. So,
yes.
so it's very possible that we might even have more than 183.
More. Or possible that you might have less as well.
Yeah, well, because of the tune, you know how the general elections went through, and knowing how Nigerians at some certain levels were not satisfied with the issue of how the elections went through in some certain places, some certain constituencies, and that's why even the presidential elections is being contested at the moment. And I'll just give a general example that if the APC will win its presidential election with 7 million people, or is it about 8 million Nigerians, and the PDP had 7 million, the Labour had 6 million. When you put 7 and 6 million together, it will give you that 13 million people oppose the candidate of the APC, which is 8 million. So, which means a lot to tell you that 13 million people are still trying to decide the general constituency elections that is contested in court. So 30 million people plus 8 million should tell you that we have the greater majority in as
Honorable,
much as
the APC actually had 8.8 million. The PDP had 6.9 and the Labour Party about 6.1 million thereabout. And this is to ask, you know, and this is flowing from the leadership of the 10th Assembly. Do you see unity in diversity of the parties being a force to reckon with? And this is, you know, with regards to the 10th House of Assembly, House of Representatives leadership, the speakership now. Earlier, we talked about a story where the All Progressives Congress says, you know, they are going to use persuasive means to reach some level of consensus on the leadership of the 10th National Assembly. Do you see them doing that without some of your members of the opposition?
Is to tell you that the opposition are even way ahead. If the APC are still looking at how they will persuade, the opposition have already come together. We have already agreed at this particular point in time. If the ruling party have not yet at this moment agreed on where they want to zone their own speakership or what they want to do, to tell you that there is still even problem within the ruling party. But the opposition, which is now the greater majority, we have already agreed. We have met with our party leaders. We have met with our stakeholders. We have all agreed as 183 members as it is with one voice in unison that, look, 11-man committee have been set out to be able to look at who because we're going to come out with one consensus candidate that we are going to push for the speakership and deputy speakership of the 10th House of Representatives. So we're already speaking with one voice. And we expect that the ruling party is supposed to have come out with, if they want to zone or if they want to come out with whatever by now. But they are still not coordinated. And that is why to tell you that the credibility in the opposition we are going to have in the 10th House of Representatives will be that which Nigerians will be so proud of, that which will ensure that Nigerians get the required dividends of democracy in terms of lawmaking and so. So among us, we have fifth-timers, we have fourth-timers, we have third-timers, second-timers among us in the opposition party. So we have credible people that can come out and contest for the speakership and deputy speakership of the 10th House
Honorable,
of Representatives.
you are representing Jos South, Jos East Federal Constituency, and in the past you have called on the citizens to scrutinize aspirants jostling to occupy those very important seats. So as a representative member, who are you leaning towards for speakership?
Yeah, well, it's not something that I can say here, but I told you that we have 11-man screening committee. The 11-man screening committee are already working. In few days, the 11-man screening committee will look at all those that are viable, those that are interested to be able to come out with the credible candidates among us. Everybody, it's credible, but the best out of the credibility of members that we have among the minority parties, which are now the greater majority. But the best is truly what we want to say. So I still stand on what I said, that look, we are going to look at the best out of where it will come from.
Honorable Bagos, it was a pleasure talking to you. Wish we had more time, but we will be talking to you subsequently. We do know that. We appreciate your time and all the best.
Thank you.
Well, elsewhere, the governor of Edo State, Mr. Godwin Obaseki, has dissolved the state's executive council with immediate effect. In a statement signed by the special advisor to the governor on media projects, Mr. Obaseki announced the dissolution during the weekly executive council meeting at the government house in Benin City, the state capital. It adds that the governor thanked all affected persons for their service to the state government and the people. By this announcement, all senior assistants, senior special assistants to Governor Obaseki have also been relieved of their appointments. Well, right now we talk more about electoral misconduct, and joining me virtually is the National Human Rights Commission Project Coordinator, Mr. Hilary Ogbonna. Thank you and welcome to the program.
Thank you, Millicent, for having me. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Talk to us about some of the human rights violations that your commission monitored during the 2023 general elections.
Thank you very much. You know, the whole idea of election is a demonstration of the right of citizens to elect their government and also to participate in governance. And any act or omission by the authorities or by law that impedes that enjoyment of that human right is already in violation. So our commission started right from the collection of PVCs, registration of voters, to mobilize citizens to vote. And we also saw that after registration, a lot of citizens did not get access to their permanent voters card. Despite all that INEC did, a lot of people were still disenfranchised, and the commission took it up as a human rights issue across the 36 states and the FCT. We worked with our offices to reach out to INEC to resolve some of the disputes arising from where citizens were not able to access their PVCs. And then coming to the election proper, we saw across the country violence, intimidations, voter suppression that also impeded the enjoyment of the right to vote. And the commission has also opened up a register on hate speech. Hate speech has become a new normal in our political arena, whereby people use words, statements to intimidate the ordinary voters, making them to be afraid of coming out to exercise their rights, something that should be a friendly endeavor. We are beginning to see as a practice.
Yes,
Political actors
but Mr.
across
Ogbonna,
all the parties.
if I might
Yeah.
cut in here, some people have said that perhaps this is coming after water under the bridge, sort of medicine after death, if you will, because at some particular times, even online, there were a number of these infractions. And where was the Human Rights Commission? That's on the one hand. On the second hand, when you compare what was witnessed during the general elections, is it worse in terms of the human rights violations compared to the previous general elections that we had?
You know, the thing with human rights is all about awareness. A lot of people have human rights, but they are not even aware on how to enjoy it and also how to seek redress if these human rights are violated. And I don't agree with you about the commission coming when water has passed through the bridge. It may also be the time that you became aware of what the commission is doing. And the commission, through its offices in the 36 states, have been really supporting Nigerians to be able to exercise their rights, to exercise their franchise. But even if you have 1 million National Human Rights Commission and you have just 10 political actors that have set out to violate the rights of every Nigerian, and what can you do? You can only begin to act after the human rights have been violated. And that is why the Commission is investigating over 25 hate speeches that have been committed by high-ranking Nigerians that have resulted in people acting upon those hate speeches to commit human rights violations. So on your own, you may be the purveyor of hate speech, but people may now go and act on your hate speech to begin to commit human rights violations. And that is where the commission comes in. But in terms of comparing this election and previous election, every election in Nigeria have always come with violence. And why we still talk about redress is also a demonstration of the fact that awareness has increased now. You cannot compare where we are in 2023 with where we were in 2019. Awareness has increased. Nigerians, especially young people, are more mobilized. There are new political actors who have come on stream that have also engaged Nigerian young people. And we begin to see, whether online or offline, people are beginning to be aware of their rights and also aware of what to do in
Mr.
order
Ogbonna,
to enforce those rights.
we do have to go. We know that this is an ongoing process because also on some of your activities, there is the monitoring of the Election Petition Tribunal. So we will bring you back again to talk more about this, especially the MOVE program that you're working on. We appreciate your time. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Well, we have more political stories now, and we begin with this one, talking about the former head of state, General Yakubu Gowon, who's urging Nigerians to accept the decisions of the court as final when it is delivered. He made the submission at a symposium in honor of a one-time justice of the Supreme Court, Justice Chike Idigbe in Abuja. General Gowon also urged Nigerians to allow the courts to do its work without interference, as the judiciary plays a pivotal role in the unity of the country. Elsewhere, the Niger State chapter of the All Progressives Congress has called for the zoning of the Deputy Senate President seat to the North Central, particularly Niger State. The state APC chairman made this known at the party secretariat in Minna, the state capital. The crisis rocking the Labour Party appears to be far from over. Two factions within the party met at different locations yesterday, while the faction led by the Lamidia Papa held a National Executive Council meeting in Bauchi. The faction led by Julius Abure described the meeting in Bauchi as a charade. At the party's National Secretariat Abuja, the acting National Publicity Secretary, Mr. Obioraifu, urged party members to disregard such notice, as the party's NEC membership is composed of state party chairmen and members of the National Working Committee. Elsewhere in Benue, the Transition Committee of the Benue State Governor-elect Hyacinth Alia has raised alarm over an alleged delay in the release of handover reports by the Samuel Otom-led state government. The committee, in a statement signed by the chairman, Mr. Chief Mike Iodie, and the secretary, recalled that the Benue State government had constituted a transition committee on the 22nd of March. She says the government's committee is headed by the secretary, with all members of the State Executive Council asking that they release the handover reports. Well, you've been served lunch at this time. Thank you for watching. I'm Melissa Walker. Bye for now.